Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, this is Joanne Victoria with another exciting and awesome episode of the Sanity Project podcast. The Sanity Project podcast is a place for you, the listener, to discover a life of clarity, confidence, and success, as well as awaken your mind to clarity. And you can't get any better than today's guest, Christine Samuel. Christine Samuel helps high achievers, and I am one of those, and I think she is as well, overcome self-doubt and self-made rules that cause fear, stress, and frustration, so they can transform to a whole new way of being, to connect with their innate wisdom, love, serve, and live with clarity and peace of mind. Christine Samuel's website is called Inner Work Matters, and by the very title of that website, you will know what Christine is all about. And what Christine is going to help us with today is how, in the world of striving and pushing to the top, most people feel they need to put more effort and think hard to solve a problem. But she and I don't believe that. So I'm going to let Christine Samuel talk about how you can stop working so hard and how she got to this place of helping others not work so hard to be successful. Welcome to the show, Christine Samuel.
Hi, Joanne. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's an honor to be here with you, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
Well, I am grateful that you are here as well. This is really an important topic. It's close to my heart because I have readers of my blog post, and listeners to my podcast, as well as clients and friends who try too damn hard. So why don't you tell us first so our listeners can get an insight to you and create that relationship via a podcast of how you got to this place? What has your path been?
Yeah, so I didn't realize that I suffer from high functioning anxiety, meaning that over the years, I just knew that's the way I was. Always have tensions, very critical of myself, and always felt like anything I do, if it depends on me, there's fear of like I'm gonna mess up. So in a way of doing things, in a way of looking at my dreams, my career, I always make sure I'm so careful in anything I do. And then what happened is it has this tension in my body. And I never realized I had that tension until I start basically studying dance. It's Indian classical dance. So when I dance, I'm like, what is it so different than the way I do stuff? So about 4 years ago, I went for a business trip to the States, and I had to lead a big workshop. And I was so scared. Like inside, there's something like, oh, I hope I don't mess this up. So I went for a jog around the neighborhood in the hotels. Then I came back to my hotel and did some journaling. And what happened was, because I was jogging, my breathing changed because I have to take a lot of inhale and exhales. And at that point, I realized I got an insight that, oh my God, I was so tense in my body. And when I did my journaling, I just realized what happened with me, why I was like that, what that voice, inner voice that tell me like, oh, I'm gonna mess up. It came from my childhood, and I never knew about this. Like basically, I forgot about this at all. And I used to do I think everything with my left hand. And where I grew up in Asia, it was a bad thing to do. It's not polite. If you talk to people or do something with people around you, you have to use your right hand. So what happened when I was 3 or 4 years old, my parents, my cousins, they all told me to, hey, stop using your left hand, use your right hand. And as 3 and 4 years old, I got confused. I just everything that I hold fell down and broke. So then they got mad at me. People got mad, And as a child, I'm like, what's going on? Like, why everything I hold fall down? And that's where I developed that thing where, like, I gotta be careful. And I grew up being labeled as a, careless person. Like, basically my dad, when I was 17 years old, kind of worried that he didn't allow me to drive his car because I was clumsy. And then I moved to Canada. And at that point, when I'm journaling, I just realized, hey, you know what? I was not this child anymore. Like, I look at my career, it was all fine. And I moved up through, get my success, from like having nothing, bring only a bag of clothing, arrive in Toronto, to like having career, having properties and everything else. I was fine. Then I realized that there's still a child in me that still not digesting all the things. So at that moment, I had a chat with me, my inner child, and I said to myself, I felt you. I knew you're afraid, and from now on, please let me handle this. And I love you. I accept the way you are. And from that point, I feel that things in me that are not digestible when I was 3 and 4 kind of calm down, and I feel more relaxed and more aligned with myself. So through that experience, I'm so into human experience. Like, what is it? What is it in our inner world that affect our outside world? And that's basically my journey into self-development, my journey into accepting myself, my journey into looking what's matter and what's not matter in life, and in helping people as well to see that. That's my story, Joanne.
Well, that's an important way to view things. How does our inner world affect our outer world? And it's different that the majority of people look outside of themselves first and blame others for their own inner ilk, whatever that's going on inside of them. They don't take responsibility. And you've started from the opposite end. You've started your inner world affects your outer world. And that, to me, is the only way to look at things, because that's all there is. It's us inside, that's different than anyone else. And then the people who you choose to focus on the outer world and how it affects them internally are missing so much, because they're just in the blame situation, and you're not doing that.
Yeah, and the interesting is about the outside world and the inside world. If we focus on the outside world, let's say, your career doing well or your business doing well, you get a lot of clients, you feel good about yourself, you have confidence, and suddenly, it's come and go, right? So suddenly everything doesn't work well, and then suddenly you feel like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I'm something wrong with me. I'm not. So it's really not a viable way of looking, of like measuring and looking who you are, because it's always change, and your feeling always change because the situation always change. Yes.
Expand on that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The thing is, we actually don't live with the outside world. We live in the inside world, meaning even the neuroscience also the kind of doing this research on, like the brain is covered in our skull. It lives in the dark. It never seen the light. It never seen people around. And what happened with our brain is just getting the pulse, the electronic, the pulse from our skin, from our eyes, and kind of interpret what we experience, our experience based on what it's know already. So that's the thing about the outside world. A situation people will see the same situation and feel the same situation differently because it's all about the world inside, the inside us. Our experience happen inside, not the outside. And maybe there's a stimulus in the outside, but the way we feel is based on the way we think. Our feeling is not based on what's up there. Our feelings is indication of our thinking. And I want to talk about being a high achiever because I'm into it. And I'm still, like it's for me, it's more about being in the inner world and how we keep the balance between being content, but at the same time having that desire to move forward, and how to keep that balance. Because I found sometimes for a high achiever, we want things that we haven't had right now so much, and we forgot about what's right now.
Yes.
And the other thing about that is as well, knowing what does it matter. Lately, I'm more exploring about human being and human doing, and I know my challenge is like if I don't do anything, I would say, what should I do now? What should I do now? How can I be productive? But at the same time, that kind of anxieties, like I need to do something, otherwise like things doesn't really evolving. That is an indication for me to like, hey, slow down, and basically notice about it's not really up to us. Meaning there's a paradox of, if we want to control our life, if we want to make an outcome that we desire, we are the one in control. But at the same time, there's a paradox of like playing tennis game, right? You throw the ball and life will throw the ball back to you. And when life throws the ball back to you, you cannot say, I want to be in this corner and I want to put my racket up like this. No, if you really want to play the game, you got to see when the ball comes and adjust based on that. And that's where the game happens. And sometimes we forgot about that.
Yeah, we're not in control.
We're not in control. The only thing we can control is our own action. That's the ownership. Everything else is borrowed. Even our belongings, even our past successes, it's just borrowed. And the things about high achiever is be careful of expectation, right? So life never perfect according to our expectations. You can expect perfect things, but it's always never as perfect as what we expected. But what happened is it's always perfect according to life. And the way we can see that perfect, the only way we can see the perfection is through a hindsight.
Yes. Right. That's important for people to know. Okay, good. All right, I'm with you.
So everything that happened to us, sometimes when we ask, like, after you pass that experience, would you rather not having that experience? And most people always say, most of the time, they're like, no, I think because of that experience, now I get this experience. Because of that experience, now I am who I am right now. And that's the perfection that sometimes we cannot see when we are in the midst of it.
Okay. All right. I'm following you, and I think our listeners are as well. But as I always remind our listeners at the end of the program, re-listen to the podcast, people, because you're going to miss the nuances of our guests. And Christine is giving you some very specific education. I can't call it anything more than that. Education. She is teaching you how to be a total human being, where our experience intersects with our hindsight. When we look back, and you've heard the phrase, 20/20 vision is always in the rear. We always know it after the fact. But when you can do both of this at the same time, that's what Christine is explaining to you.
Yeah, and another thing about so I also do dance. That's my childhood passion, and I keep doing it. And one thing I learned from dance is practice. Now, how can you see life as practice? The thing about high achiever is we are so focused on end result, goal, obsessed about end result. We want to get it. We want to get there. We want to get there. But when we too focus on that, we kind of miss the process. We miss the life that are right now, that's happening right now, by focusing too much on the future. But what we can do instead is make a life as a practice, meaning that if you want to be good at something, practice it every day. If you want to have fulfilled life, practice gratitude. If you want to have relaxation, practice rest. So, and the thing about that is when we focus on practice every day, we'll be able to focus on refining the quality and the way we do things, refining our experience. Because if you, let's say, driving a car, let's say this life is like driving a car. At the end is death. All of us gonna go to the same directions. We'll be arriving at the same directions, the same destinations, no matter how you drive, no matter what path you take. Now, when you drive a car and you're going to destinations, you can drive complaining about the car you drive, complaining and getting frustrated about the traffic, comparing yourself with the other cars and people inside the other cars, and being grumpy on driving that car while you are on the way. Or you can enjoy your drive, enjoy the ride, and basically the idea is both people, they will get into the same destination. But what matters is the quality of your experience. So if you think instead of success in the future, but the quality of your doing, the quality of your experience moment by moment, you will have more fulfilling life.
Yeah, that's something. For example, driving to get to my home, there is what they call a speedway. It's not really a speedway. I don't know why they call it that, but people are passing left and right. No matter what lane I'm in, there's always somebody wanting to pass me. But the thing of it is, when they get to the stoplight, they're at the same stoplight I am, but they have sped up over time, going as much as 20 miles over the speed limit that I'm driving, whatever the legitimate speed limit is, and they didn't get there any faster. And that they're all stressed out because they were trying so hard to beat not only me, but whatever cars they were having this artificial race with. It's just really interesting to watch how people live their lives. And it takes, again, some separation to view how others live their lives so that you can learn how to live your own life in a different way. It's the practice of even driving. Anything we do, as you say, if you want to be more rested, you must practice resting. You have to know what it feels like, because if you say you want it, but you don't know what it's going to feel like when you achieve it, what have you accomplished?
Yeah, and the thing about being high achiever is like we want something at the end. We want the result. But like when we arrive at that point, we want something else.
Right.
So the end point is just a journey. It's not like the end. It's never the end. It's a journey, and then you want something else. So why not just enjoy the ride of getting to something else?
Yeah.
And what I've been contemplating about this, Joanne, is like, I want something. When I sit down and I think about, hey, I want to get this or I want to go there. But it's very different when I'm hanging out with my husband or my kids. When I hang out with them, I don't think about, I want to get there, or there's a goal of what is this about? There has to be something that comes up from just hanging out with them. No, I just be. I just being with them. And it feels very relaxing. It feels very restful. So it's a different quality of like, want to get somewhere. And a quality of, hey, I'm comfortable with quality of connection with people. And how can you bring that, like connection with people where you just want to be there, be with them. There's no goal or there's no like something to get out from it. How can you bring that to pursuing things that you like by enjoying that part of being, being frustrated, being excited, because those are things, being fearful sometimes because we start doing new things, being brave, all of the feelings, being able to see that as part of the journey instead of like, oh no, I don't want to feel frustrated. I don't want to feel this fear. I gotta be brave. But like, oh, okay, this is fearful. That's fine. I'll go over it. The other thing about high achiever as well, I talk about my childhood, like unconscious trauma, but there's a lot of clue we can learn about ourselves and do our inner work by looking at our childhood. And one of the things I just realized recently, so I always look for something new, something that I never done before. I always have this desire to do something different. So when I kind of become more skillful in something, I just want something else. At the same time, while pursuing that, I have this uncertainty, and it's very uncomfortable feeling like, oh, I want to know 10 steps ahead, but I don't know. How do I know? And then I realized, when looking back to my childhood, the things that make me happy during my childhood is when I went out, play with the dirt, have this wonder of nature. Wow, this is how it happened. Things that I didn't know. It gave me that sense of excitement and sense of like playfulness. And I just realized that, hey, I'm still that person. I'm still that person in my childhood. I'm being who I am. Because as an adult, of course, we want to have something certain, risk taking it's sometimes giving us this fear, but at the same time, that's actually the ones that make me alive, right? So there's an aspect where we don't like as a grown-up, but that aspect, sometimes it's what we're looking for as a child, in our inner child. And how can we look at it as something positive instead of, oh, I don't want to feel this way.
Okay. So give our audience another way that they can access their inner child and work with their inner child in protecting the child, but also enjoying what the child enjoyed. Is there a way to do that?
Yes.
Tell our listeners how to do that.
So, a couple things. It's very important to slow down. It's very important to have reflection, some kind of a self-reflection on in our daily life. So if you move forward, you go, slow down. Have some, you could do journaling, you could do meditations, but also the other thing is remembering what is, sometimes we have selective memory. So think about what you love, what makes you happy during your childhood. And you can kind of see how that play in your adult life, and how can you bring that back to your adult life. I mean, everybody is different, but like looking at who you were before. And again, the childhood is not just things, it's a gem, but also that's where your shadow is formed, right? Things that you're afraid, things that traumatize you.
Yes.
And looking at those and be able to kind of seeing it separated, but also at the same time connected, because we are the same person as we were before.
Yes.
Like spiritually, like soul, in our soul, we are the same person as when we were a baby, the same person now, and the same person when we, when we get older.
Yeah.
So finding something in you that is never change, that is always the same, no matter what situation, no matter what feelings you experience.
Okay, there we go, people. You can't have it any clearer than that. Now, I want to let everybody know who's listening. Again, please re-listen to this podcast. But also, this is not for the weak. If you're looking for McDonald's and instant gratification and instant solutions to something that you're dealing with, this is not what we're about. We're about a little contemplation, a little reflection, a little remembering, and a lot of practice. So if you're willing to put the efforts into that, I mean, it's not going to take that much longer. It's just going to take very specific training, very specific education. And if you want to find out more, you can go to Christine Samuel's website at innerworkmatters.com. That's innerworkmatters.com, just as you would expect it to be. And she is also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook as Christine Samuel is here. I think she's making a point with that. Are you, Christine? I like that.
Christine Samuel is taken, so I do that.
But this is great. Christine Samuel is here, people. So I want to thank Christine Samuel for being here with us today, to being vulnerable in sharing about her own story, her own upbringing, her own inner child, her own outer child, actually, and how it all melds together. And it's up to us if we want to put in the work. It's called work for a reason, people. This is where the work is. It's inside. It's inner work. The rest will take care of itself. But if you don't have the inner work down, you're just going to glide through life and you're not going to be very happy. I want to thank Christine for being here today. Again, re-listen to her podcast. And do you have any final 2-word statement that you want to put out?
Yes. So forget about finding how to 5 steps of getting this and that. Go in and find insights, because there's inner wisdom within all of us. And whatever question you ask, there's an answer inside.
Always.
And what you need to do is just quiet your mind and listen.
That's what I tell people. So Christine is telling you again, and that's not all of us who do that, but it's 2 of us right now. Re-listen to the podcast, make notes on what you have heard, and go inside and ask any question. You will receive the answer. You may not like the answer, but you're going to get one. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.